I almost got Reesa Tessa'd by a dude perping Omega Psi Phi, and I'm ready to tell my story. We listen and we don't judge. Now, I already told this story on Facebook, and several of my Facebook friends said I need to do it in video form. So I'm just going to read what I wrote on Facebook, but I'll probably add to it what I remember as I go along. Okay, so boom. Buddy came up on my For You page on TikTok. He had on a frat jacket and a skull cap. He was doing that thing that Qs do with their tongues when they're trying to insinuate certain things. And I commented trouble on the video. It all went downhill from there. So he slid in my DMs and we exchanged pleasantries. You know, name, age, where you from, shit like that. We inboxed for about 2 days and I gave him my number. We started texting and talking, of course, and I asked him when and where did he do MIP. Pledging is illegal, FYI. Buddy said, FAMU. Now, I know a lot of Omegas. Like, I know a whole lot of Omegas. But I don't know anybody from FAM, so I believe him. He said he came through fall 13 and was the number 6 of 8. That activated my spidey senses. Because as big as FAM is, a line of 8, really, nigga? Flag on the play. Buddy said he was an executive chef and getting a PhD in chemical engineering. I mean, it's possible, but how you doing that simultaneously and you aren't actually an engineer? That just didn't sound right. He said he came from a long line of Omegas. His granddaddy was an Omega. His pappy was an Omega. He said his pappy was in the military and was a Rolling Stone and had 26 kids. Dude said he had 20 sisters and 5 brothers. All of his sisters were Deltas, and he and his brothers were Omegas. And his mama was an SG Row. Now, he was his mama's only child, but supposedly his daddy had all these other kids, and he even said a whole bunch of them was born overseas. I mean, it's possible, but highly unlikely. Honestly, I should have blocked his ass then. Man had some tall tails. I mean, Andre the Giant size tails. He said he was a 6, and his line name was Mr. Showout. Man said he was at homecoming, tailgating, hopping in his gold boots and his camo jacket shirtless. Said because of who his pappy and his grandpappy was in the frat, he had the option not to pledge. But he did it anyway because I wanted my respect. Then he barked. The hiya was so loud. Buddy was good. The lies knew no bounds. So after a few days of texting and talking on the phone, we video chatted. Now let me add this. He sent me his IG so we could video chat. I went and looked at his IG. He had a whole lot of pictures on there. And he was smiling. He had a gap. So I was like, oh, you have a gap. And he was like, yeah, but I got braces, so I don't have a gap no more. But y'all, when we video chatted, the whole right side of his upper teeth was gone. I mean, missing. So in my mind, I'm like, how the hell you say you had braces from having a gap just like in 2017 to not having no teeth? I mean, the math is just not mathing. So anyway, he had his shirt off, and I asked him why he didn't have any brands. Buddy said, because my chapter didn't require it. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of Omega business, but I'm pretty sure no chapter in any org requires anybody to get a brand. You get one if you want to. If not, whatever. I had a tall can of drink that night, so I was floating on cloud 9. I was really plugged in and listening, and I heard everything this fool said. My flabbers had started gasping. So we were chatting it up, talking about different stuff, life, food, and whatnot. Man said, my line is 10 years old. I said, you crossed in 13, right? He was like, yeah. I said, well, 24 is almost over. When do y'all turn 11? Man said, this weekend. I said, in December? He was like, yeah. I was like, come on, son. The nilgrim had a swift response for every single question that I asked. Dude gotta be a professional liar. Somebody out here paying him to lie. So now I'm ready to accept that he's a lying ninja. I asked him, when does he study? Since he a chemical engineer and trying to get chemical engineering PhD degree or whatever. He said, we had a week break, but next week they had finals. Mind you, he told me that they had class last Monday. I said, but that doesn't answer my question. When do you study? He said, I study at work in my office. The same job where he's the executive chef of 3 restaurants in one building. This is one lying-ass ninja. I mean, he the Richard Pryor of lies. Dude is one of the greats. So we keep conversing, and I'm kind of starting to be over his BS. So he started saying something to me in Spanish. And I was like, you can speak Spanish? And he said, yeah, I speak 5 languages. I kid y'all not, this is what he said. I speak Spanish, French, Patois, Nigerian, and Korean. For the mucking Nigerian. Now, I ain't no Carmen Sandiego, but I know damn well Nigerian is not a language. I mean, Patois ain't either. It's a dialect, but that's neither here nor there. Nigerian is not a language. And also, he didn't even include English in his list of lies of languages that he supposedly know how to teach or speak. So now I'm done. Finished. Overcooked. I mean, you could have stuck a fork in me. I told him I was sleeping. Got off the call. I went back to look at his TikTok. He had videos of him in his jacket, this Omega Psi Phi jacket and skull cap. Several posts of him throwing up the hooks, but nothing of him actually engaging in frack activities. No Omegas on his page with him doing no community service, no hopping, no nothing. Just him throwing up the hooks, him in this jacket and his skull cap. I looked at his following list. There was not one Omega in sight. I knew then the next morning I had to investigate. I texted one of my homeboys early this past Saturday morning. And I said, holler at me when you get up. I need you to check something out. He called me back like 4 minutes later. He was like, girl, you know I'm up. I was like, okay, cool. So I asked him if they had a portal on their frat site to look up the names of members. He said, we sure do. I said, plug this name in. I met this ninja on TikTok, and he's giving liar and perp. He searched several different ways. He searched by the first name and the last name, the first initial of the first name and the last name, and just the last name. He even read every single name from the fall line of FAMU, fall 2013, and of course, his name was nowhere in sight. So now, the Omega Perp Sniffer is about to put an APB out for this lying-ass chemical engineer chef. Oh, and I didn't tell y'all this. When I questioned him about the size of his line, dude said, we started out with 35, but by the end, only 8 were left. Dude had to been around somebody because he knew exactly what to say. He was really invested in this lie, and ain't no telling how long he curated this foolery. He also said, like, his little brother pledged somewhere as a freshman, and his little brother asked him why he didn't pledge as a freshman. He told him, well, you can't do that at an HBCU. I mean, he knew a whole lot of stuff about, like, the functionings of Greek life in general, but he was a liar. And in 2024, I don't understand how people are still perping D9 fraternities and sororities, because it's so easy to find out that you ain't a member. Y'all, I have been reeling about this since Saturday because I cannot believe that this happened. But I'm so glad after 7 days, I was like, he got to go, because I probably could have gotten some wild shit with this man, because clearly he got some mental issues or something. Because ain't no way nobody is lying that good and that quick if ain't something wrong with their brain.